the plan to get to 30 to 50K per month, if you were to tell me, here's the plan, what do I need to do? The first thing you need to do is you need to start off, have one core niche. So if you're not already focused on one core niche market, this is what you need to be focused on. If you can come up with an offer, right? If you can have an offer and you can really go into like nailing product market fit, I'll tell you this, that is going to create the demand itself. Okay. A lot of people are like, oh, what's the best offer I can do? What's the best niche I should target? But I will tell you this is if you create a strong enough offer and you really nail product market fit. And the key is, what do people want? Okay. This is something that I know intrinsically, like I've know this because I study a ton of copywriting all the time, but I'll tell you this, focus on what people want, not on what they need. Okay. And I think a lot of the times we think that we need to position our offer into towards, oh, you need mindset training, or you need a coaching program. You need no, they do not want those things. You know what they want? They want to buy a better version of themselves. They want to buy a better version of their business. They want to solve a problem. They want to get a result. They want to alleviate their pain. They want to alleviate the frustration. They want to alleviate the uncertainty that they currently have, right? And they want this result, right? And a lot of the times, what you need to do is you need to flip it into like, they need this, right? Instead of a want, it's a need. And when it's a need, it becomes a lot more powerful, right? I'll give you an example. Let's say that you have a ton of referrals coming, right? But now the referrals start to dry up. Well, what's your need? You need more clients to give you more referrals, or you need more traffic. You need more people coming into your pipeline, right? Because if not, then what happens? You're just going to spiral. And then over time, if you're not retaining it, if you have churn, I mean, every business is going to have some level of churn. If you have a recurring model, if you don't have a recurring model, then it's going to inevitably have this drop off where it's just going to be a negative feedback loop that kind of spirals, right? So then this becomes a need where then somebody needs to have the service that you're offering. If you're offering some sort of lead gen problem, or for example, these e-com brands, like maybe their ad account got shut down. They have no way to generate sales. Well, now they need a new solution. Okay. So as you want to turn that into, okay. So this is the core thing, solving a core problem. And the problem has to be the main core problem that this person's looking to solve. Okay. And how you find this out, I mean, it's not sexy, right? And a lot of people don't like to do this, but it's client research. Anytime that I go and create a new VSL, anytime I go to even optimize the offer, anytime that I go and do anything that has to do with marketing and prospecting and messaging, it starts with client research, right? Or market research. And so you need to identify the clients. If you have current clients, interview them, find out what they really want, find out what their pains are, what keeps them up at night, all that stuff, right? But this is the thing, nailing a core problem. And I'll tell you this is another thing I think a lot of people, they don't really truly understand. And once they do, this is when their business takes off. Because think about this, look at your market without your product or service in the equation. Okay. And you may be like, what are you talking about? Right. But the thing is, look at your market as if your offer doesn't exist, because what you're trying to do is you're trying to find product market fit. The ones that succeed, okay, and I'm gonna have to go free flowing, mouse drawing here. So forgive me if it's a little messy, right? I don't have the pen, but it's because I want to save time. So here, what you have to understand is that you're trying to find product market fit, okay? And so I think a big thing that most people, I mean, it's a hard pill to swallow, but sometimes people just don't have any desire for your product, okay? Or what you're offering, okay? And so it's a hard pill to swallow. Maybe you built a course, right? Maybe you spent 3-4 months building a course and then nobody wants it, right? Or they don't want to solve that problem. Or you have like all these assets built out for an agency and nobody wants it. Well, you need to then understand the dynamics between marketing, your offer, and your product. or your cert, whatever, we'll just call it a product, right? You need to understand the relationships between these things, a cause and effect relationship between these things. And I think a lot of people, they think that, oh, my program is good, I just need to sell it more. Sometimes you need to have a whole new offer in and of itself. And a lot of the times, which I see plaguing a lot of people, is they think they need to have this first. You need to have a product. No, you do not. You need to have an offer first, and you need to market it, right? So it's working backwards rather than forwards, okay? You need to have an offer, take it to the market. Is there any resonance, right? I'll give you a prime example of this. So what we did is I just put together a presentation. I had 0 product. I didn't even have a single slide created. I didn't have anything. All I had was an offer, and all I did was market it to this one core niche, which was what I was, marketing agencies, helping them get clients using LinkedIn. Okay, that was it. Okay. And we did 60K in 2 weeks with that offer. Okay. And then from there, in the first, I think after 4 months later, we were doing 120,000 a month with, again, just me, Glenn, and Jeff. Got it to 150 by myself. Okay. And that's because we tested it into the market first. Okay. And we made sure that the market really wanted this offer and that it resonated with them. Okay. And this is the key, because we didn't have the product, right? All we had was an offer, and we got it to the market. Okay. And so this is what you need to understand, is that when you're trying to find product market fit, sometimes this won't land, right? When I was first initially trying to scale my agency, it didn't land. I was just generic. I was helping people with, do sales funnels and Facebook ads, and everything. Yeah, I heard that before. Okay. So I had to switch my offer, and that's what inevitably helped me scale my agency, because I was very specific on the offer and the transformation that I can solve. The offer will create the demand. And what I mean by demand is people will flow into your calendar in massive quantities, okay? Because it's so specific, okay? And it's so dialed into that individual person. And when you're going after, when you're doing organic, this is another thing that, or cold email, whatever the case be, even advertising. This is another point that most people don't understand, is that you're marketing to one person. Okay. When you're sending that DM, when you're sending that email, how many people are going to see it? The only person that's going to see it is the individual. Okay. And again, this may seem obvious, but people write marketing messages for the mass people. They create it for the market, right? What I'm saying is it's only going to be seen by that individual. So why would you not tailor it exactly to that ideal client? And you know why? It's because your niche is too wide, right? And so this is the key of this. And again, you can have multiple different sub niches that you target, but it has to be so specific that this person's like, their conclusions. This is another thing in marketing that you need to do, is you need to foster conclusions. And this may be a kind of a foreign concept. You may understand this, but the conclusions you need to foster is they have to make these habitual agreements in their mind, right? These, what people call micro commitments, where they're like, yes, this is me, right? Because we're targeting at that person. Yes, this is me. This is my problem. This is the result and the future state that I want to be in. And wow, this seems different. This is unique. I need to learn more about this. Not that I'm interested. It's tell me more. Like, let's get on a call right now. But this is what you need to do here. You need to define these things. What is a traffic channel? So we'll talk about the channel here in terms of getting these things, but these are like the core principles, business principles that you need to dial in. Okay. The channels that you're going to be doing in order to do this, once you have one LinkedIn profile that's working, you scale it by adding another LinkedIn profile. So I recommend using real profiles, and we'll talk about this later on, like which profiles you should use. You can use like family members. You can use, cousin, brother, mother, sister, whoever, or you can actually hire virtual assistants or appointment setters, which I'll show you later on as well. Okay. So that's how you can scale. So now let's say you're generating, 15 appointments let's say per week with one LinkedIn profile. Well, now if you can sustain that because your messaging is dialed in and you can do that across 3 LinkedIn profiles, well, now, theoretically, you should be able to generate 45 appointments in a week because you're scaling it horizontally. Okay. Does this make sense? So right now we have a bunch of LinkedIn profiles that we use. We have about like 6 of them, all real people. And so this is how you can scale with organic, okay, is by having multiple profiles. And whether one person is managing all profiles or you have, each person managing their own profiles, the model which we find efficient, which is typically one person managing multiple profiles, because if they're proficient at it, throw that person that is proficient in that seat. And that's another thing we'll talk about tomorrow when we talk about team and hiring, is putting the right people in the right seats. Okay. But this is like kind of how you can scale it. Now, instead of generating 15 appointments, you just 4x your volume by not adding anything new. Once you get someone like that already has a proven message, proven offer, and you throw them into this, you'll be able to scale your business, because now guess what? They can manage 4 profiles and they're the hardest working, most efficient people, right? So it's not about that. It's about dialing it in first, because I could throw in a competent person and then they have to figure it out. Okay. They have to figure out the process to be able to actually to get the result. Right. But now if, let's say I'm doing this myself and I'm consistently generating 15 appointments a week, I've documented my responses, I've documented the offer, I have all this stuff, right? Then all I need to do is add another LinkedIn profile, duplicate what my LinkedIn profile is, and just throw someone in there to duplicate the responses to book calls. Okay. So that is easily how you can get to 30, 50K per month. You could do it with one profile. Again, there's going to be somewhat of a limitation. So I do see this as the case across our clients, is that at a certain level, you're going to, once you get it like producing to a certain extent, and I'll show you the KPIs, then you need to then boom, scale it up essentially. Okay. So with LinkedIn, at the end of the day, we'll talk about the whole LinkedIn process, but in order to get to like 30 to 50K per month, you want to have one of the profiles that's, within these KPIs. You want to have about a 20 to 40% connect rate, right? You want to be doing at least, let's say a 20 to, let's say even like 50% response rate on connections. So this is important to understand, because, the way that most people calculate the response rate is on connect requests. You want to do it on connections. And then out of these responses, you should be able to convert around 20 to 50% of the responses into appointments. And you want to have an overall booking rate on connections of 3 to 8% minimum. I mean, a higher the better. But you want to have an overall booking rate of 3 to 8%. And this is typically for like any outbound organic channel. So you can apply the same concept to outbound email, and you can also apply this to even like Facebook, for example, because the way that it works is that only a certain amount of people are going to actually accept your friend request or your connect request. Only a certain amount of people are going to open your emails. Only a certain amount of people are going to respond. And only a certain amount of people are going to actually book, right? But if we can get the overall booking rate, so let's say we had 100 connections, if we can get that 3 to 8% minimum, again, obviously the higher the better, then all you need to do is sustain these numbers. And then guess what? Add multiple LinkedIn profiles, right? So you can definitely have, but not yourself. So we use team members or family members profiles. We use team members personally, but you can use family member. I know David uses like his mom's profile and stuff like that. You can definitely do that, because it's just another profile. Okay. That's all you need to understand. 50,000 per month. And let's say your unit price is $5,000, right? Just for round number sake. Well, in order to do 50K, right? You need to do 10 sales per month. And let's just say it's not recurring, it's one-off, maybe a coaching program or something like that, right? Well, then you need to do 10 sales per month. And then from this, you need to look at kind of the metrics that you want to look at in terms of what do you need to do to generate these 10 sales? Well, how we do the sales process is a 2-call close. So we need to do discovery calls, and then we also need to do strategy calls, which I'll explain the difference as well on what those are. But to do 10 sales per month, you need to do, let's just say you close, let's just say 20%. So you need to do 50 sales calls. Okay. Well, in order to generate 50 sales calls, what do you need to do to generate 50 sales calls? Well, you probably need to do, well, typically what we see is around a 7, let's just say on average between a 60 and 80% show up rate. So let's just say 70%, right? So you need to book 70 calls, right? So you need to book 70 calls, right? Or appointments. In order to generate those 70 calls, you may need to do, let's say we typically see around an 80% conversion rate from discovery call to a strategy call. So these are 80 like strategy session calls, which we call them like second calls. If you're doing organic, right? Talk about inbound later, but this is organic, right? Then 80% of that, you need to do 90. You need to do 90 discovery calls. Okay, 90 discovery calls. And then you just break it down. Okay, well, in order to generate 90 discovery calls, how do you generate those? Well, it's going to be in order to book, let's say 90 divided by, let's say it's 4. That's 22 discovery calls per week, right? And if we divide that by 5 days, that's about 4.5 discovery calls, 4.4 discovery calls per day. What does this give us? This gives us an action plan to do every single day, right? It gives you a plan. Okay, well, I need to do these numbers if I want to hit this goal. So I think a lot of the times you just kind of say, oh, I want to do 50. The time where I had the biggest shift in my business was when I was broke living in my dad's basement, and I had 10K per month of an advice grip. I was like, I'm going to make 10K per month. But every single time I wouldn't come up and hit 10K per month. Then what I would do is I'd beat myself up. I'd feel fucking bad because I didn't hit my goal, and I needed to hit this goal before this time frame. And so it just was this cycle every single month that I didn't hit the goal, right? But instead I let go of the time frame, right? And I let go of this 10K per month. I still set it as a goal, but then all I started to focus on was this. I reverse engineered my goals. I looked at it from the bottom up, right? I know that if I can book 4.5 discovery calls per day, right? I can do 22 discovery calls per week. I can book them into, what is that, times 22? That's about 17 strategy sessions per week, right? I can do 90 discovery calls in a month. 70 of those turn into strategy sessions. And I can do 50 sales calls, strategy session calls, right? In a month, and I can close at 20%. I know I'm going to get 10 sales. And if I do 10 sales at 5K, I'm going to get to 50K per month. Okay. It's literally just as simple as that. And in order to generate these discovery calls, again, it may require, maybe you can get two of those discovery calls from one profile, and then maybe you need another profile, or you just look at, okay, how can I generate and maximize more of what I already have? But if you can sustain these numbers, okay, guess what? You can plug in another one. Then you can plug in another one. And now this 15 appointments per week now turns into 65 or 60.